Our speaker is Katherine Joseph from the University of East London, United Kingdom. Today, she presents her talk on the topic, Mapping Desire and Problematic Phenomena Between Romantic Love Discourse and Digital Media.
Hi there, my name is Katherine Joseph, and I'm a doctoral student at the University of East London. Today I'll be giving a presentation on mappings of desire between romantic love discourse, problematic phenomena, and affect. We're short on time, so let's get started. So when I say problematic phenomena, what I'm talking about in particular is catfishing, ghosting, and the commodification of the body. So catfishing, as some of us may know, refers to when a person evokes a fictitious personality online, either in their qualities or their physical attributes. Whereas ghosting is a relationship dissolution technique where one of the parties leaves the other without giving any indications of where they're going or that the relationship is ending. And commodification of the body refers to the process of self becoming object under the conditions of online dating generally. Now I'm linking these concepts with a broader philosophical turn towards affect. And when I say affect, I'm talking about the process of becoming. So I'm evoking a Deleuzian understanding of affect under the affective turn, and so I'm looking at the states of becoming between entities and intensities. And then finally, when I'm talking about desire and the mapping of desire, I'm using that term in an affective way. Rather than looking at it through lack, I'm looking at desire as a vital affirmative force, and so something that propels intensities or modes of becoming. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of everything, I just want to briefly return to affect, although we've not been gone that long, because it played an important role on how I approached, theoretically, the mapping of desire within catfishing, ghosting, and the commodification of the body. And so, as I've mentioned, I'm drawing on a Deleuzian approach to affect that understands us all as constant entities of becoming. That is, that ontologically there is no stable positionality in any concept, entity, or intensity, and that we're all kind of constantly melding into something in the future. It's a very processual understanding. And so I invoked this through assemblage theory, which is the broader name for affect under Deleuze and Guattari. And more particularly, I drew upon Deleuze and Guattari's dual axis approach to affect, that is, through an axis that on one end has the mechanic assemblage and on the other has the assemblages of enunciation, while through the center has territorialization and re-territorialization and then deterritorialization. Using these tools, I was able to loosely grasp upon each concept and map the ways in which desire might move representationally and as an affective intensity, but also in the ways in which it is pulled into organization, pulled out of organization, and then brought back into organization. With this established, I was able to make a mapping of all three concepts, but for brevity's sake, I will just show you the catfishing one. So, at the heart of this research, I wanted to speculate on how desire as a productive affective force moves through assemblages of problematic phenomena informed by romantic love discourse. And to do this, I made use of Deleuze and Guattari's theory of assemblage, which suggests an ontological positioning that understands that the phenomena we're looking at are in a constant state of flux and lack stability. In other words, there's a constant becoming. And because of this, loose understanding, I also borrowed their tools of tetravalence, which looks at the assemblage of enunciation and the mechanic assemblages, as well as the lines of flight and territorialization, in order to conceptualize how desire might move through things like catfishing. With these theoretical tools established, I was able to create a theoretical mapping of the three phenomena I laid out. But for brevity's sake, I'll just show you the mapping for catfishing. And so as you can see in this diagram, I have affective energy flowing around the assemblage, constantly allowing it to be in flux and ever-changing, lacking its certain positionality. However, I argue that because it's constantly in flux, that there is a background to this affective energy that I call precarious reality. And the precarious reality works as sort of a bracketing for our understandings of what could be and where we might go as intensities. This is a liminal space in which the molar tensions of hegemonic devices of romantic love discourse pull intensities into a sense of stable organization, while molecularities that are at play, creating lines of flight, work to sustain an entropic relationship with those intensities, creating an overall flux between stability and instability within the phenomena itself, the collective, and the individual. I argue that the precarious reality creates limits for this potentiality, effectively bracketing the possibilities for what could be and our understanding and trajectories of intensities towards a potentiality in the future. I argue that the precarious reality creates limits for this potentiality, effectively bracketing the possibilities for what could be and our understanding and trajectories of intensities towards a potentiality in the future. I argue that as individuals themselves are emerging situations in opposition to these forces, the limits for these realities stretch and attune to the wider margins of acceptability, spurred on by notions germane to romantic love discourse. It asks, if anyone can fall in love, then why couldn't it be that Pedro Pascal has DM'd me? And it allows you to make the mental hurdle to say, well, of course Pedro Pascal needs Steam gift cards. He has to prove that my love for him is real and not based in his perceived monetary value. As affective energy moves through this assemblage, it rebounds against pre-existing structures, possibilities of being, and artifacts of culture. And I argue that in tandem with this understanding of desire as affective potentiality, the interaction creates what I theorize as affective imaginaries. So artifacts of culture that have become enlivened through affective potentiality and work with precarious reality or within precarious reality to extend the possibilities for acceptability and the perceptions of normality and natural trajectory. And so in instances of things like catfishing and our Pedro Pascal example, it allows us to suspend the disbelief, willingly or unwillingly, to say, of course Pedro Pascal could fall in love with me, and of course it's fine that I've sent him $5,000 in Steam gift cards, because eventually in the future that love will come to fruition, and that this is a natural progression of the sacrifices required for love. So, as we round out this brief discussion, I argue that it is through this enlivening of cultural artifacts and the creation of affective imaginaries that I can finally offer a general theorization. I argue that within assemblage, desire acts as a mobilizing force, as Deleuze and Guattari and several other authors have argued, and that this contributes to the constant unfolding of becoming, and allows us to return to the three original notions in this presentation: desire, affect, and romantic love. I argue that the affective imaginaries set the body upon specific trajectories entailed with direction and valence, that this new endowment of energy into representational artifacts pulls the body into a schizophrenic orientation and acts as a defining force for the creation and prolonging of romantic imaginings. That is, what is previously fully affective moves back into the representational through the undertaking of affective imaginaries and against the backdrop of precarious reality. And so through this, an ontological cross-modal transformation occurs that allows the affective to re-enter the individual and move back up to the collective. It is through this condition that I can then speculate the conditions that allow a person, your everyday person, to believe that a random celebrity has suddenly DM'd them and is now madly in love with them but requiring copious amounts of money, or that an everyday person that they met on Tinder but have never actually met in person and keeps making excuses not to see them is still the love of their life. Moreover, I hope that through this initial theorization that I can work to expand subjectivist understandings of romantic love within psychology and through affective understandings of representational phenomenon, especially in romantic love, affect, and digital media. Thank you so much, and I look forward to any questions you may have.